Good morning, I'm John Hopson with Hopson Home Improvements, and today's project is to install a deadbolt on a steel door, exterior door. So let's get started. We need some tools, of course, and the deadbolt, and let's get started. What we're going to be doing is drilling a hole through a steel insulated door. This is a residential door. It has a steel sheathing on the outside with a wood core around the perimeter and a foam core in the center. So what we're going to be doing is drilling a hole through the steel and through the wood core. And for that, we're going to need a hole saw. It's called a hole saw. There's two different types you could get. There's the discount cheap one here, which is really thin, and this would work fine for a wood door. But for a steel door, we want something thick and strong, and this is a single size hole saw, and this would be a 2-inch or whatever is recommended by your deadbolt manufacturer instructions. So, okay, the first thing we need to do is to determine where to make our hole. So we will measure from the bottom of the door up to either 40 or 45 inches, anywhere in that range. One of the things you have to watch out for is to make sure that your deadbolt is not going to interfere with your existing storm door. So that will determine the height. Your height of your storm door latch will determine where the deadbolt hole will go, and that will be, the deadbolt will go above this height. So you might want to measure that and make sure there's no interference. Okay, the next measurement we have to make is the setback measurement, and this will determine how far back from the edge of the door the hole will be placed. So for a residential door, this will be 2 3/8 inches. You may find some instructions in your package of your deadbolt package. It will tell you, it may give you a template, a paper template you can tape on here, and it'll determine exactly where the center of that hole has to be. While we're making this measurement, we may as well make the measurement for the height of the latch that goes in the edge of the door. So we can extend this line that we've made for the deadbolt to the edge of the door, and or you can use the template that came with the deadbolt, and the template will have several different measurements on it for the thickness of the door. So you use the one that corresponds to the thickness of your door. If you haven't used the template, you can also by hand measure the thickness of the door and take half of that and make your mark. This will be the center of your latch. Now that we have our marks made, it's time to drill the hole. So let us put on our safety goggles and get ready to drill. We're going to line up our drill bit on our hole saw with the mark that we've made on the door. So here we go. Okay, now we've drilled halfway through, so now we'll go around to the other side and complete this hole. Okay, for the next hole we have to make in the edge of the door, we're going to use a spade bit. And this will either be a 7/8 or 1 inch. Just read your manufacturer's instructions to see which size to use. Okay, for the next hole we have to make in the edge of the door, using the spade bit, we line up the tip of the spade bit with the mark we've made and begin drilling. Okay, we've got the hole made. Okay, now that our hole's made, we can insert the latch and make a mark around the edges of it so we can chisel out a recess. Alright, next thing we have to do is use a chisel, sharp chisel, to make our recess. Following our lines that we've made, we go all around the perimeter. And for the edges, with the grain, we can use a utility knife. And now we'll continue to chisel out the rest of the wood that's in our recessed area. Okay, depending on what brand of lock set you use, you'll either have a square plate on the end here, or it'll be a rounded off one. So you're going to make, that's why you're going to put this in here and trace around it, so you'll know where to chisel and where not to chisel. Okay, the next thing we have to do is install the latch. And if you look, there's an engraved marking on here that tells you which side is up. So make sure that side is up. Slip this in the recessed area you've made. You can either use a regular Phillips screwdriver or use a bit on your drill. Okay, your deadbolt comes in two pieces. There's an inside part that has the screw holes and an outside part with no screw holes. So we have to assemble this all at one time. So you line up the pin with the hole in the latch. And then from the other side, this pin has to also line up with the pin that you've already have in here. So let's do that. Okay, now we'll check it and make sure it works. Okay, there it goes. The next thing we have to do is to make a hole in the door jamb where this latch bolt will go into the jamb. Okay, you can either use the template that comes with the deadbolt to determine where on the jamb you're going to make this hole and recess for the plate. So I like to do it another way. I like to extend the deadbolt out this much, and I can make a mark in the center of that on the casing. Okay, now we can use our square to extend this line over to the door jamb itself. That will give you the height of the hole we're going to make. Always remember to wear your goggles to protect your eyes. Okay, again, as we did in the edge of the door, we're going to use our utility knife to outline the latch plate, and we're going to use our chisel again to mark out the top and bottom. And what we want to do is make this the depth of the plate. Now what I like to do is put one screw in first and then close the door and check that the deadbolt is in fact going into the hole all right. So we need to check that first. Okay, now we're going to close our door and check it. Make sure the deadbolt will close. All right, that's good. So all we have to do is put in the last screw, and then we're all done installing a deadbolt in a steel exterior door.